Hey guys, Defcamp here, and welcome to DefTalk, the talk show that focuses on everything World of Warcraft, whether it's classic, retail, or the players that play it. We're going to cover it all. Today we are joined with Melderon. Everyone knows Melderon?
Everyone?
And yes, hello Melderon.
Hello.
But we have our very special guest today, someone who is not only a content creator, but someone that is a Vanilla WoW veteran and a friend of the channel and someone that I would call a personal friend. We have Gaming Past 30. Welcome. How you doing today, man?
Hello. Very good. Thank you. Glad to be here.
All right.
Glad to
so
have
we're
you.
going to... Yes, we are. And, guys, I just wanted to let you guys know. So we really wanted to, have a talk show where we get the voice of the community and also content creators. And so that's what we're doing here. We want to get you guys involved and new content creators and people that are, the heart and soul of the WoW community. So we have Gaming Past 30 with us today. You recently started making videos, and what was your reasoning behind that?
When Blizzard announced, Classic was actually going to come out, I got really excited, and then a couple months passed. I actually found your guys' channel. And I've been following Alex a little bit here and there before that, but honestly, watching your guys's, definitely shout out to Melderon here. Your vlogs actually really helped me. Hey, why can't I do that? I really like that format, so I kind of stole a little, not direct copy, but I'm like, I could do that.
Dude, riff as much as you want, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
We all do it off each other.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, that was mainly it. Before that, I had, mainly just wanted to create something for people who have kids, right? Not a lot of time, something interesting for that. A lot of memories. So it's kind of the focus.
That's awesome. So you have been playing WoW for how long?
I stopped at the end of Draenor, and then I started way back in November of 2004. So
we have a true Vanilla WoW veteran here.
Yes.
Someone can call Melderon and I a true Vanilla WoW veteran. We played for about a year or so before the TBC expansion came out. But
we're noobs compared to you.
Lightweights. No, I'm just kidding.
We are. I could not imagine what it was like those first couple months, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But what was your reason for quitting retail? Reasons. I'm sure there wasn't just one yet.
A lot of it was the inability to keep a schedule with raiding. And before that, though, I would be lying if I didn't say it was pandas.
Yeah.
It was pretty much that whole expansion.
I hate some pandas, too.
Cataclysm started it because it started killing the old world. But I'd had a lot of high-level characters, so it didn't really affect me. I already had all my ults, so I didn't have to go back and play the low-level stuff. But not being able to raid, and then, my guild was not around as much. They were on for raid nights, and so I didn't have a social group to do 5-mans with. It just kind of started dying, and my interest level started going down.
Yeah. So did the content change have a lot to do with it too? Or lack of? Well, for me, it was lack of community, lack of social.
Right.
But,
there wasn't a lot of interpersonal communication. I would say there's a lot of chat, regular chat, but not a lot of, hey, we need a healer for this, because that's what I mained back then.
Yeah.
Invites, random invites. You remember back in the day they used to do random invites. It'd just be on, and they're you're on your warrior or your priest, and they're like, hey, we need a healer. And you're like, I got time. Let's do this.
I got that today. Right when I was about to log on, hey, dude, you want to heal RFD? And I was like, oh, I would love to, but I don't have the time right now.
Exactly.
And that is gone. You have to, post yourself in LFR or looking for group or whatever
Get
it is
inspected
nowadays.
and all that other crap.
Yeah, post. We were talking about that too. Posting item level, posting gear score, posting achievements, freaking achievements. But yeah, I'm totally there with you, man. I understand. So you said a little bit you were a healer, but what were the classes that you played in your WoW experience? What were your favorite classes too?
I started with a warrior because I loved Dwarf Warrior from D&D in high school and whatnot. And I was like, that's what I want to play. Started leveling him arms with a sword and board. That was an experience. I died a lot. Couldn't pull more than one mob.
Arms with sword and board stuff. Anyone who's listening now, don't judge this man because he played arms, sword and board a week into WoW being out. So no judgments here, guys.
Yeah, that was an experience. So that was like my first experience in WoW, was booting that up, looking at my character, and just you just turn your character around in game. Of course, I didn't do it quite at that time, but later on, you look around, and you're like, wow, this is really beautiful. But just having your character represented in 3D was amazing. I know that sounds ridiculous, but that was pretty cool back then.
Yeah,
I totally agree. And for me, the first time I logged on and got that experience, like you said, you were a D&D player, so you did a lot of that, role playing, and to be able to get that, this was my first MMO. So to be able to get that inside of the game was amazing. But what was your gaming experience before Warcraft in MMOs and other games that were kind of like it?
I'd done like the Knights of the Old Republic in Star Wars universe.
Oh, okay.
I'd actually bought Dark Age of Camelot. I was living in California with an uncle, and I didn't have internet access. I didn't know it was an MMO, so I'd buy it, get home, can't play it. That was probably my first MMO experience.
That's a game I wish I would have played. Yeah,
me too. I miss it. I hear from a guy at work who played it back then, and I was like, man, that sounds right up my alley.
Span talks about it all the time. That was his first MMO, I think he said, and a lot of people came into WoW with a little bit more experience than others because they were experienced in MMOs. But everyone was still new. But some people were a little bit more familiar with the the way of the game than others, having played MMOs before. So it's a little bit of a head start from everyone else.
Yeah, I didn't have much in that as far as MMOs because I didn't actually get to play any. But WoW was my first. That was, Sorry, continue.
Well, no, so let's talk about that real quick. Let's talk about what was your first experience logging in like? If you can remember that.
I'm probably remembering a memory, so bear with me. But it was just logging in, having those little annoying tutorials pop up.
The tips, yeah.
And, at the time you're reading them all like, oh, what do I do? What do I do? And if I recall, you could, like, right-click in the game still and, like, move. I think you could use mouse movement back then.
There is an option. I believe that they must have turned it off at some point, but there is still an option, as far as I know, in the private servers where you can do that. Yeah.
So,
I was clicking around the world. I didn't use the keyboard yet because I didn't know you could use WASD at the time. But that was
who uses WASD, you noob? There should be keybind.
Already keybind.
Right. I came from Warcraft 3 with my Blizzard experience, so it was like, oh, right click, sure, no problem.
Yeah. I think that's why they did that, because they knew a lot of people were coming from Warcraft 3.
Exactly.
It was a good option to start with. So
I just couldn't imagine what it was like to be on there when everyone else was brand new. No one knew what the hell they were doing. You didn't have things like ThoughtBot. You didn't have add-ons yet. You had nothing. And when we came, at least there was people to guide us.
Right.
When you were there, you're on your own.
WoW forums and chat was pretty much where I got all my information.
Wow.
Just you had to dig and then ask people, and hopefully you didn't get a smart ass. I mean,
no, it's okay. It's okay.
You can say that.
Yeah, it's okay.
Don't listen to Melderon. Don't listen to Melderon.
I actually get to. No kids, I get to cuss a little.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
You make up other words. I won't tell you all of them. They're really stupid. But it's like you just got to vent that.
I hear you, man.
So, but yeah, no, it was pretty amazing, and it was a lot less self-reliance, being able to figure things out, really read that quest text, because if you weren't specific, you'd be killing the wrong mob for hours.
Yeah, you're like, to the northwest of... Yeah.
And you had to read... They only had scrolling combat text back then, right? It was only scrolling. Yeah. So you had to read the quest, the log. So basically, you could sit there and just be like... But it made you want to read it more because it was just going by. But, and that was... there was no quest helper, of course. That was it. You had that and the chat of people who may have done the same quest that you were on.
Exactly.
And then don't even get into, am I in the right spec? Do I have the maximized talents for DPS?
Why is this thing blinking on the bottom of my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was like the first few hours for you like? I mean, like I guess we kind of talked about that, but like, so you started with everyone else basically, so everyone's kind of no one knows what they're doing. So was it kind of just like everyone just killing a bunch of borers and then I'm just trying to maybe recapitulate what that was like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not
hurt my finger.
It was a little different than it was. Is now if you go log in, most people know, get that first quest, go kill some wolves or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people just turned around and started killing things because that's what you did in like EverQuest and some of the other ones. You just started grinding.
Right.
I know some people do prefer to level that way, but there was a lot of waiting for mobs to spawn. I vividly remember like the mob spawn rate was not very higly when you first started. So your whole zone. Yeah, so you'd be running around trying to kill those. What were they called? Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. But anyways, you kill the wolves, and there were not enough wolves for everyone. So I don't think a lot of people grouped up either. It was like beating on each other's mobs, even though they're gray, you get no experience, that kind of stuff.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah, I'm interested to see because the whole thing with the mob respawn timers. If you guys play classic, if you guys play private servers, I doubt they are what it was like. I mean, the respawn timers, and I hope when classic comes out, they are more of what a true vanilla. But the respawn timers, even on most private servers, are a lot quicker than what actually happened in vanilla. Yeah. So, that's something we'll talk about a little bit later.
And they turn them up and turn them down as a function of population size too in private servers.
True, so, right. So yeah, I mean, I couldn't imagine what it was like sitting there waiting for just to kill like 10 boars, and you're sitting there spending an hour just to do that because there's thousands of people trying to do the same quest.
I think Blizzard's going to introduce dynamic respawn timing. I'm pretty sure they will. I'm not saying they should. I'm just saying I think that's what they're going to do.
We'll get in this stuff a little bit later when we talk about about. But so I see the poster behind your head. So are you for the
Horde?
Okay, for the Horde. Okay. So Melderon and I have an interesting. So Melderon is for the Horde without a doubt, right?
Yeah.
Melderon. I mean,
100%.
I have always played Horde except for my first character. He was a Night Elf Rogue. And messed around a little bit here and there. I made like a hunter while I was leveling, but my complete Warcraft experience has been on Horde. But recently, I love to play vanilla Holy Paladin. Like, I think it's awesome. I love Holy Paladins, and of course, you can only play Paladin on Alliance. Yep. So I'm in a little bit of a pickle when it comes to Classic because I want to play Holy Paladin, but I know Melderon wants to play Horde, and he probably wants to play his Shaman as well.
Well, the thing is, I would say I'm gonna play Warrior with you, Matt, and I'll have my Shaman for myself, kind of thing.
All right.
But
yeah, I mean, it's funny because a lot of content creators are Horde. I'm sorry, are Alliance. Alliance.
Oh, really?
You really don't. I mean, you thought like Asfan, Stay Safe, Tips Out, Asmongold. I think even Soda Poppin was an Alliance Druid. I mean, the list goes on and on. I think Alex, I think he plays a dwarf now on a private server, but he is mostly Horde. He's one of the only ones, but when it comes down to it, a lot of the content creators are Alliance, like, Swifty, Bajira, those guys. There's not that many Horde guys, so, you got to represent.
Oh, of course.
But, Gar, victory or death.
Yeah, that's right. Zug.
Yes.
So you said, when we talked a little bit about classes, but you said healing is kind of your favorite thing to do, or what's your favorite thing to do when it comes to playing WoW?
In Classic, see, that's where it kind of changes for me. I played it for so long, different expansions kind of played different roles. In Classic, I was more DPS. So I played like the Warrior to start with, and then I played a Rogue to max level and a bit of PvP. Then I also played Hunter. So I kind of did the DPS train in Classic. Didn't really start healing until I made a Holy Paladin alt. So I know exactly what you're feeling. That's a lot of fun. I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of mixed. I do want to try healing in vanilla though, in Classic. That's something I'm interested in because I know the aggro worked way different back then than even in Burning Crusade.
I mean, if you put out a couple more heals than you should, you're like pulling mobs. Yeah.
I mean, like I know Holy Priest aggro, like that, it was insane. Like oh my god! And then forget about trying to throw out a little bit of DPS too, because your threat would just go insane. And then also forget about putting like a hot out before the tank pulls, and that's not going to happen.
Yeah, but I think you pinpoint on something that's very common with with most people is that, of course, there had to be tanks and healers, right? But I feel like for most people, like I didn't start doing other things other than DPSing until Wrath. It took me 2 expansions to be like, I'm going to try something more responsibility-wise, tanking. I didn't tank until Wrath, so
that brings up a good point. So was there there's always, of course, a lack of tanks and healers, but when it came to early vanilla, was there a lot of tanks and heals? And I'm sure they weren't even spec'd properly. So how was that back in the day? Was there a shortage on tanks and healers?
Yeah, there was a shortage. I as a tank, well, I sold myself as a tank. I wouldn't call it tanking now. I just put on the shield and started trying to hit things and keep them off my friends. But there was a shortage. Although I cannot tell you if it was more on the healer side or the tank side.
Yeah, that's fine. It's interesting because I myself didn't start healing, and my first character was a rogue, and I'm sure when someone first comes to the game, they're going to try to play something they can get a grips of a little bit easier. So when you look at things like tanking and healing, it would seem like there might have been a little bit less of them around, but.
Yeah, or people just dabbling, right? Like we need a tank, we need someone to do something. So it was probably a lot of combination of hunter pet, voidwalker, and then someone with a shield,
and then a rep paladin healing.
Yeah, exactly, or something like that. That's my vision, but I don't know if that's true. But yeah,
the main group I ran with on my rogue, running especially a lot of Skullomance, or
Skullomance.
Yeah, but was a shadow priest. And her warrior husband, they would invite me to their groups, and we would go about our business in there and wipe like nobody's business.
Yeah.
But
until was that 10-man Skullo back in the day?
That was 5-man. This was, I think, after the patch.
Gotcha.
But yeah, that was so much fun, and even off spec. I mean, it was possible. I know a lot of people say you have to be pure one way or the other, but for 5-mans, quite often we did it with off specs.
Yeah.
That's that's one of the things that I think is very special about Vanilla WoW. There in other expansions there wasn't. I mean, you talk about the hybrid tax and things like that, but you could go into a dungeon. I mean, you could level Shadow and go in and heal and do things like that, and it was less about being the best healer, being this, and just getting the group through the dungeon. Finishing having the experience. With your friends, respecking, of course, was a expensive thing back in the day. So you would, spec, and so that could do a little bit of healing, a little bit of damage, things like that. And I think that's what was so great about Vanilla, and then it kind of lost that throughout the expansions. Is you really played your style, and you were able to make your style. And that's of course now with we have less choice in that. But this goes into my next question a little bit. Do you think it's important for the Vanilla WoW veterans to try to emulate some of those classic Vanilla WoW experiences into Classic when it comes out?
So are you thinking more like hybrid specs tanking, or are you thinking? Sorry.
No, so basically, I'm throughout the board when it comes to people being helping each other doing quests, people like the whole Classic vibe when it comes to the increased higher socialization, that kind of thing. When it comes to playing what you like, that whole kind of thing. So do you think it's important for the veterans of Vanilla who know what Vanilla was like to try to emulate that when Classic comes out, to try to help the newcomers?
Yes, very much so. That's what I'm actually going to be looking forward to doing. Is being that person, just a resource, not like trying to tell people what to do, but when people have questions, try and give them direct, honest answers instead of, try and get through the trolls, because they're still going to be there, not just as a race.
Of course.
So that's we'll probably talk about that later. That's definitely very important to me personally. That other people have their own opinions on that, but I'm going to personally be working on that.
Yeah. And so I have a vlog coming out about this topic specifically, but it's It's basically, I think we need, so you know the Walmart greeters, right?
Yes.
When you go to Walmart, we need to be we need to be something between a Walmart greeter and the city guard. We have to be there for people. We have to.
Hello, welcome to Walmart.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But like, if it's so important for us to be like, hey, I'll help you with this quest, or hey, this is where this quest item is, or like,
let me help you kill this mob.
It's very, very, very important. And
like,
yeah, go ahead. No, you please.
No, that's all right.
Yeah.
It's your level 10 quest now, right? Where do you go? This is where
Yeah.
you go. You're a warrior, go over here.
Yep.
The priest, go heal this guy right outside of town, and you'll get that new one spirit cloth armor that's green. Woo!
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Or here's a bag. That's one thing I did.
Here's a 6 slotter I don't need.
Exactly.
Or whatever.
Here's an 8 slot.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, come on, be a little bit more generous. Give the guy an 8 slot.
Okay, I'll give it. All right.
Wool was hard to come by back then.
Yeah.
It probably still will be.
Yeah, that's very, very true. I think if we want this classic thing to not only be successful but to be healthy, we need people to be healthy and to help people who are either
absolutely
have never played before
agree.
or coming from retail and have this already preconceived notion that we're toxic. And if we shut that down, I think that's very important.
Yeah. I don't know how effective we'll be as a collective. I'd like to think very much so. But
I think so. I think, yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
No,
at least in like small groups and in guilds.
In guilds, that's what I was going to say. Yeah. I think that's that. There seems to be, like Phil was saying, a little bit of a stigma when it comes to the classic WoW community as toxic, and I think I'm sure. Well, you probably think that's probably. What do you think about it? Is it bullshit, or are they? I mean,
I think anytime you get a passionate fan base and they've been kind of crapped on for a long time, it's hard not to get jaded. And I feel the same way it works sometimes. I deal with customers all day, right? After long enough, you kind of stop feeling sympathetic as much sometimes, and something I try and combat. But also, I kind of see that when I read the forums, or I'm too old. I don't go on Reddit. I don't know how to read those. I
just started going.
So I just started using Reddit too.
Sorry, if you're looking for anything there for me, nope.
Yeah.
No, I think you're 100% right. I think it has to do with the passion that people have about this game. I think it has to do with the, we were talking about this a little bit on Melderon's DefTalk when we're talking about that. There's two different groups, really, of people who play WoW, and that's the older people, or not the older people, but the people that are used to the older game and the socialization and stuff being harder and content taking more time. And then you have the newer people who are introduced into WoW maybe in the later expansions where things were quicker, much more fast paced. You did much more on your own. And I think when it comes to Classic, we have to kind of remember that there are those two different groups, and that luckily there will be two games for each group. One will be retail, one will be classic, but there of course are going to be the people in between, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of those. There'll be a lot of new people in the classic, and like we were talking about, we're going to have to kind of be a little bit of a ambassador, I guess you say. And I think a lot of people are willing to take on that role. Like I myself am. I know Melderon is, and it sounds like you are, which is awesome.
Definitely.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about, so we were talking about, what it would be like for new players coming into the game, right? So, and what they would do. But what is something that when you log on to Classic for the first time, what is your goals? What do you want to do when you log on, and what do you want to do end game? So, what are your goals in Classic WoW?
I'm not looking to so much recreate the experience because I experienced a lot of it back then, but I'm looking to bring like my wife along. She didn't get to play back then nearly as much, and so mostly bringing her through some of those experiences, but as a different class. Get a healer to 60, maybe heal some raids, those kind of things. Definitely PvP again. I love that. I would very much like to either take part of or create a guild that's focused on world defense. I kind of mentioned that in one of my one of my videos.
Yeah, I love that
back then.
That is so cool. Yeah,
it's so awesome that I kind of want to recreate that. No matter which faction, just have that mentality and hopefully bring some other people into it and make them understand that that's kind of what Classic was about.
Right.
At least for me, and share that with them. So it's definitely going to be less about my personal achievements and more what I can kind of give back, because Warcraft's given a lot to me. I'm just kind of looking to give back at this point, something of my own experiences and maybe some extra patience for other players.
I think that's really cool because, here we have the unique perspective. Well, not unique, but it's very rare that I talk to someone who started in the beginning of vanilla and someone who's played pretty much all of vanilla, and I really like to see what they plan to do when Classic comes out, because then there are a lot of people who are going to be coming back who haven't played WoW in a long time, and I really do believe that a lot of those, like you said, that it's such a cool thing to be able to start a guild that focuses on World of Friends and things like that, and I think that's what's going to make the Classic WoW experience amazing. Having those people who are going to be, doing those things that they did in vanilla and bringing it into Classic, and I think that is what's going to make the experience, no matter what Blizzard does, and hopefully we get, and we'll start talking about this now a little bit, hopefully we do get the Classic that we all want to play, and I'm sure you want to play, having been a vanilla veteran. But bringing that along with you, and bringing that what I call the soul of vanilla is so important, because without that, the game could be there, but without the community, which was such a big part of vanilla, without the community, the game is nothing.
Didn't have retail.
Exactly.
But
exactly. I mean, it's
Before we jump into changes and patches, two things you said I really want to bring out, and one is so it's different this time around. You're past 30, I'm past 30, right? So we were, and that's your name, and we're going to get into that too. But so it's really interesting what you said about your wife, because now my girlfriend's starting to play, and I was like, I would never thought that would happen ever in my life.
Right.
And I just got back from Journey, and we're sitting there and we're having dinner, and she's like, "Hey, what do you want to do tonight?" I was like, "I don't know." She's like, "How about you teach me how to play Warcraft?" And I was like, "What?" I was like, "Where did this come from?" And then we started playing. And I started teaching her, and I'm like, "Wow." She's like, and that's an aspect of it too. And then the other aspects, I'll be away from my brother, and it's a way for us to keep in touch, right?
Yeah.
So there's all these other things that are coming now to be part of Classic and why to play it. But so real quick, before we jump into that, how are you going to juggle being past 30, having children, wife? So how's that going to be? Because back then it was totally different, right? I'm assuming you were maybe single or
12 hours a day, man, at least.
Right. So how are you going to juggle it? That's the question I have for you.
My goal is about 2 hours of gaming a night. That's kind of what I set for myself. Because it's hard to adjust from, you get off work and you have 8 hours of gaming some nights, depending on when you go to bed. But I put my kids and my family first. So I try and spend as much time with them until the little ones go to bed. And then I hop on, whether that be 11 p.m. or midnight, and I get a couple hours in unless I'm exhausted. But it's going to be a hard part, and that's kind of why my focus is less on end game in Classic, and that's an option in Classic, which is awesome that you can be in a small guild and just hang out and help each other, because you always make friends kind of around the time zone or the times you're on.
Yes,
and that's another thing, meeting people in other locations. But juggling that is going to be a struggle. We'll see how it plays out in Classic, because I'll be a little more amped to get on. Right now, I'm not really focused on any one game.
Right.
It's mostly on either making videos or trying to play games with my own brother.
That's awesome.
And that's what you said about vanilla being a game where not only can you focus on a game, but you can focus on things like that. And I know a lot of people who play vanilla just to level, because leveling. I mean, you look at how long vanilla was out. A lot of people, myself included, spent pretty much all of their time leveling, exploring, maybe doing some PvP, some world PvP, maybe getting into a raid or two, but doing dungeons, exploring, and the world was the game. Like for me, the world was the game. I was always in the world. Instances were a small part of my vanilla experience. It was exploring, it was doing all those things. And, vanilla is probably the only point in WoW that could really be, done where you can have all these different things, maybe a little bit in BC, maybe a little bit, but to that extent where vanilla was like that. And I think it's awesome. And I think that, people bringing that to Classic is very important. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I really, talking to you and talking to other people who have played, are vanilla veterans to the fullest, played from the beginning, it gives me a lot of hope because everyone is kind of on the same page when it comes to that thing. They want to help out the community. They want to build the community, and they want to really bring that vanilla feeling to Classic.
Right.
Yeah.
So, now that we talked about that, what is your ideal Classic WoW, and what does that include?
Weather effects. Oh, I mean, but I would definitely prefer, like, I'm kind of split because while I like some of the changes on 1.12, I would like to maybe have both. And I know that might be asking a lot, but doing like, you could have your own server that does like the patch progression, maybe a little bit accelerated, starts at 1.1 and goes forward. But then you also have the people who just want to raid. So you put them at 1.12, put them at the end. They want to experience all that with everything. And then the final balances in vanilla. That's kind of what I think. I personally would choose the 1.1 server because I enjoyed that change. Even though I probably didn't notice it, I didn't read a lot of patch logs back then. Not early on, not until I think Dire Maul was launched did I really look into any patch notes. That's one that just sticks with me because we're like, "Ooh, new 5-man content." I was super stoked about that. Right. So yeah, that's kind of.
This is something really interesting because I myself had thought about this. If Blizzard wants to maybe entertain different groups of people who are no changes, to maybe launch a server that is, like you said, progressive 1.1, purest vanilla that you can get. I mean, it's just pure, the exact replica of vanilla, maybe not with the bugs, but everything, and like you said, weather effects, that didn't come out until the Storms of Azeroth patch, right?
Yeah.
So, and progression, that goes down the line. And maybe having half the servers like that, and then having other servers that are, like you said, maybe more suited towards people that want balance, that want PvP in the beginning. They want to be able to do battlegrounds from the start.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really interesting.
It's a really interesting point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think some people really haven't explored that because there are, with like Melderon had in one of his vlogs, there are communities inside the No Changes community. There are people who want 1.1, the people who want 1.2. There's a lot of it, and but I think when it comes down to it, there's two big groups. There's one that wants the 1.1 progression, and there's one that wants the 1.12 basically the private server experience, but from Blizzard and maybe a little bit more polished and things like that. So I tend to think that would be a pretty good idea. I know it would be for Blizzard, but I think it would make a lot of people happy to be able to, have that experience or the other experience.
Yeah, it's a possibility. I just think it's going to be a lot of hurdles to jump through. But I think that, and I think the streaming thing is going to be. Streaming is so big now, so that's something that would also be a little weird. But I think it's something to think about, though. I think it's something that it's a cool thing we haven't heard yet. I haven't actually thought about that.
Yeah, maybe not at the start. Maybe down the line they introduce something. But I've thought about that, and like you said, it does bring some issues. It does. What if someone, like you said, is streaming and someone looks at it like, well, what is this? And it also is the time issue, things like that. But I don't know. I really think a lot of people are going to be upset because I know a lot of people who played private servers and they're so used to the private server experience, they want Classic WoW to basically be private servers but Blizzard, but better. And yeah, exactly. It lasts forever. That is, doesn't have issues with having your passwords have to be changed every month or two. nothing bad about certain private servers.
They're like logging in. I'm like, wait, did I miss something? Why can't I connect? yeah.
Getting DDoSed and gold farmers running the friggin' server, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which is awesome, but I think Blizzard needs to kind of differentiate themselves from the private servers more, and I think they need to do that. To do that, they need to give us a real pure classic WoW experience, which starts at 1.1. Does that mean it's an exact 1.1 start? And that's where the conversation continues, because, as you know, there was a lot of things that changed from, 1.1 on. Like, there was pretty much no spell damage gear, right? I mean, it was like...
No.
Yeah. And that would deter a lot of people from playing spellcasters.
Mm-hmm.
I think. I mean, I wouldn't want to be...
Especially if they're used to having that kind of gear.
Exactly, because, mages are great DPS, but... imagine doing Molten Core and, you have no spell damage gear, so all your stats are basically, all your damage is pretty much stagnant.
It'll make Molten Core a lot more interesting.
It will, and that's, then you think about debuff slots and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But, and another thing that I like to talk about is, we basically, I think, are on the same page when it comes to how we would like to see Classic released. But what do you think is so hard way to, I guess, what do you think is the best way for Blizzard to try to differentiate themselves from private servers, and also to, try to make Classic WoW what it could, to try to draw people in, bring new people? I think, they either need to do the pure Classic WoW start, that kind of thing, or they don't. I don't know. I'm kind of going around in my head in circles here.
Yeah. What do you think's the best thing? Yeah.
Yeah.
Personally, I think it would be cool if they could recreate some of the old stuff that they used to do with their content on explaining new stuff. They used to do this little like gnome that would do TV reports. I don't remember the name. I don't even think it's around anymore. But they would release these short little video clips, kind of explaining what was going on in the World of Warcraft.
Huh.
And I think it was later in Vanilla's life, but starting at 1.1 and selling it as this is pure, as pure as they can get vanilla, come experience it again. We're going to show it to you as it goes. And then kind of using that other character to guide new players through the experience from Blizzard's side, because they always like to have some kind of guide. They don't want to just leave players out there to hang,
right,
not know what to do, which is why we have retail WoW as it is now. But having something off-site where you have to maybe go read or watch a video, and I'm sure a lot of us will be creating content about that as well, already have.
Yeah.
But making it something a little more mainstream with inside Blizzard.
That's a really good point. The Classic WoW creators, the people who are in charge of the Classic WoW maintenance and uptake, those guys can do some really interesting stuff if they wanted to. And be like, hey guys, Molten Core's coming out. These are what the bosses are like. Just like cool little like meta stuff that could come out on YouTube. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that would be really interesting.
And they kind of have done that with recent expansions. They had those animations, those short animations where they would do, here's the story of Gul'dan, and here's the story of this person.
Yeah, exactly.
And do that for Classic. I think that would be awesome. That's a really good idea. And that, I think, would draw people, because there's, like we're talking about, the divide between the retail people and the Classic people. There is a pretty strong divide when it comes to, and I think a lot of people already have an idea of Classic who never played it, and they're like, oh, I'm never going to play this. It's an old game. It takes long. It's for friggin' old farts who just want to sit around and play a level of character all day. You know what I mean? And it's not. It's the experience, which is so amazing, and it's so hard to describe in the short words. And
it is
that kind of thing, I think, would draw a lot of people to WoW.
That's what I was going to say. That it's gonna quell a lot of that distaste that a lot of the newer players may have for an older game, to kind of have these updated things, like very integrative with the community the Classic WoW team can be. And I think that would lessen a lot of that. I think you're right. It's a very good point, that they need to be active in the community. Yeah.
It's kind of what I feel like we're missing right now, and I think a lot of people feel that with, there's all this BFA going stuff.
I was just talking about that.
They want to push that, but for me, I'm like, all right, what's going on in our neck of the woods? Like, come on, anything.
Yeah, I was just talking to Dunedane about this. I think he said he just subscribed to you. He's another guy we're probably gonna have on the show eventually, but he shouts out to Dunedane. If you guys get a chance, also check him out.
Content.
But and he was talking to me about we were talking about that specifically about how BFA is getting all this. You know, there really is two different markets, and I understand Blizzard's thought behind, you know, pushing BFA now, and I think that's why we haven't heard anything about Classic, because they want to continue the hype on BFA. But I don't feel very hyped for BFA. I don't really care. There are two different markets here. Why not at least give us something? You've kind of opened the door and say, hey guys, you know, Classic's coming out, and then slam the door in our face and basically haven't tossed anything under the door saying, you know, we're still here thinking about you. We're still, and that I think they need to do something. I think they really need to, like Melderon says, maybe put on a YouTube video about, you know, Molten Core and about Ragnaros, and then do that. And I think it would get people hyped up, but it also won't be like this huge announcement and won't take away from BFA and won't take away from that hype. So I would really like for them to do something like that. Would you like to see, you know, I'm sure you would. I mean, but would you like to see something like a Q&A that, you know, devoted to Classic soon? You know, I'm sure you are, and it's pretty much a redundant question, but
it's okay.
It's very frustrating, you know, being especially being a content creator and not really have anything else to talk about. It's like, okay, yeah, Classic's coming out. Classic's going to come out, but we really can't talk about too much because we don't want to get ahead of ourselves, you know?
Right.
And you don't want to get...
Oh, sorry. You don't want to get in trouble posting a lot of, you know, private server stuff or anything like that.
Exactly.
Even though that's all you have to work with, because we don't have video from back then, a lot of us.
Yeah, or if we do have video, it's very poor quality. But so how do you think they're going to... What do you think there are some of the things they need to address in this Q&A? Or, I mean, how do you think they're going to get that rolling, I guess?
Well, I would hope they would do something that would involve, you know, reach out to some of the longer-term content creators. You know, not that, you know, say anything about us, but or you guys. Just kind of get them involved and maybe do sit down. I know, like for Hearthstone, they have like casters and all that, but the people that play the game. But bring some of them on board and have them maybe interview the developers. That would be kind of fun to watch.
That's a great idea.
Talk about it. That's something I'd personally watch. I don't have a lot of time to watch a lot of YouTube videos, so I kind of pick and choose. But that's definitely something as a fan of Classic I would be interested in.
That is a great idea. And, you know, that's something that I think would get the community involved and would also... There's a lot of good content creators out there who, like, you know, just Asmongold, for one I'm thinking of, he is very much excited about Classic, you know, and is a pretty big voice in both communities. Right. I think that would help a lot to try to also draw and maybe change the opinion of some of the retail players to hear someone like Asmongold, who they, you know, and maybe even Soda Poppet, even though I'm not a fan of some of the things that he, you know, talked about, like having BGs in the beginning, whatever. But just all that aside, you know, all that shit aside, who cares that these are people that want to play Classic? Let's have them, you know, like you said, interview the people on there, and it's going to do wonders for not only bringing more people from retail, but also kind of quieting that stigma a little bit, and maybe letting people see that, you know, Classic WoW is more than just a meme. It's not, you know, it's not something that, you know, people, you know, that are in their 40s and 50s and 60s playing wheelchairs, and but you know, it's, you know.
Did you see that? Tips just put out an excellent video about how it's not nostalgia. And if you guys haven't seen this video yet, you have to watch it. And he backs it up with data. And a lot after the Nost post-mortem, you wouldn't believe how many players were in like the 20 to 30-year-old range and even younger.
Yeah.
So these are people that were like 6, 7 years old when Classic came out. So obviously, there's a huge market of people that are younger than us that want to play this game.
Oh, and there are.
So that video was really eye-opening, and it was a very important video to make because it put data behind the it's not just nostalgia thing, because it's not. Look at the data. It's right there.
I hate when people say that so much. Because, like, okay, if it's just nostalgia, why the hell are so many people playing on private servers?
Yeah.
Why are so many people invested in this? And, you know, I mean, you're proof, and we're all here proof that it's not just nostalgia. And I hate, I think, more than anything, though, when people bring up the argument about Classic that, oh, it's just nostalgia. Take off those rose-tinted goggles, whatever the hell they say.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I'll have to check that out. But, you know, if it was nostalgia, it might be a little bit, of course, you know, the memories and all this.
Oh, totally.
But that's a small part, I think, of what I look for in Classic. It's the experience, and it's the like the social, all those other things. You know, of course, yeah, there were great times that we had. There were a lot of things that I miss, but that is just a part of it. And yeah, I think it's awesome. You know, Tips has put out a lot of good stuff recently. Yes. There's been a lot of content creators that are doing that, and I think it's very important. And I like what you're doing too. And you're kind of in your content, you're basically you know, talking about your experience. And I think it's good that a lot of content creators are doing this, because it's less about, you know, why it's great, this and that, but it's more about what you did in your experience and what it was like and the stories. And I think that's so important, because that's the kind of thing that people can relate to. That's the kind of thing that people can sit there and enjoy and listen to a story. They don't want to just hear, oh, this person is this, that. They don't want this, they don't want this, they don't want that. They like this, they don't like this. They want to hear your experience. They want to hear that. And I think more people need to do that. And I really like how you, you know, tell your story and how you really draw people in. And I think, you know, definitely keep that up, because it's something that I look forward to every time when I see a new video out. I'm like, oh, GP30's got a new vid. I love it. So I
think, can you remark on, like, so how you did that? So what made you want to do? So you did briefly say that you watch my vlogs, but like, how did you come up with the structure of your vlog? Was it just kind of like, I'm going to go through my timeline, or how did you set that up?
Yeah, you know, it's something I thought about. I don't have the time or the resources to do a lot of like history and look at the numbers. That's not how I played WoW either. I looked for the next meta. Not that we really did a lot in early vanilla, but it was more like, well, what are my strengths? I like writing like essays. I like writing short stories.
Nice.
Share my experiences, and just kind of hopefully let other people know that this is something you have to look forward to, and try and show them it's not just nostalgia, because obviously I remember that, but I'm still interested in playing Classic when it does come out. I think it's always fun listening to people, how they got to where they were, especially in an MMO. Like, I started here and I kind of moved my characters, and I had a pretty personal connection with my each avatar, you know, each hero.
Yeah.
Well, they're not heroes back then, but you know, with your character. And they each kind of had their own backstory in my mind. I didn't write them all down. And in sharing that, my wife got tired of it, so I'm like, well, why not share it with everyone else? And maybe my kids will watch my videos too, so they'll get to see that. They'll be like, wow, Dad, you were interesting when you were, you know, you were old, but you're still younger than you are now. It's like, oh, thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's having that. Like, that's something that me and Melderon were to, like, in the future. You know, looking back on watching, say, like the Super Play Brothers series, and seeing that, maybe showing that like to our kids, and you know, it's and that's when it becomes. Thank you. By the way, I love it too. We have a lot of fun doing it. That's another part of it. Is that, like, we have fun doing what we do and making the content, but it also, you know, shows that it's much more than a game.
Exactly.
It's not just a game for us. You know, I talked a little bit about in my DefTalk. That for me, it was there for me in some of my darkest days, and it was something that I could always rely on. The people, the friendships that I had inside WoW surpassed pretty much all of my friendships in real life at the time, except for my family, of course. But, you know, and I really look forward to maybe meeting some of those people again in Classic. That would be amazing. Yep. Okay, so a question I got for you too is, do you trust the Classic WoW team when it comes to making Classic no changes? You know, do you trust them to be able to give us what we want?
I think they can, but not knowing who they are makes it a little tough to 100% trust that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always kind of gone. I always did trust in the past. I've trusted Blizzard with WoW, and that kind of lingered, and, well, we know what we have now. And honestly, not knowing exactly who's behind it. I know we've heard some rumors and some stuff like that, but not knowing who it is, no faces, no, like, well, this is some screenshots of what we're working on. I know that might be asking a lot at this point in the development, but I'd really like to trust them, because they've made some great content. And I think that that's their focus right here, is to bring us vanilla, just as they said it, as it was, as much as they can. But it's hard. I don't think I 100% trust them, but, you know, it's a solid A-. Right right now.
Yeah.
I feel you. I see the thing that I'm like I want to trust the Classic WoW team. If it is like Tip said in his leaks, if it is people that really care about Classic, then I can put my trust in them. But my bigger issue is even if their intentions is to give us Classic WoW in its purest form, and to make it no changes, and to make it the game we all know it can be and wish it to be, is Activision Blizzard, the big papa. Are they going to be okay with that? And also, they're probably going to have the last say in it. So,
right.
Are you worried about that? Or are you worried that they're going to probably have their hands in it?
Yeah, of course they're going to try and monetize it, and I'm not sure how that's going to show itself, but I am worried about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's definitely a worry.
Yeah, a big thing I hear a lot is the Blizzard store, and the that. Yeah, I know. You know how much money they make on transactions, microtransactions. Yeah,
it's a lot of money. It's billions of dollars.
Yep.
Yeah.
And whether it's because we all know in Classic, in vanilla, there was no option to change servers. There was no option to change factions.
Right.
Yes.
Later in vanilla, you think, when was it that there was you could go to a less populated server, that kind of thing. And those were the only microtransactions that were basically allowed.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, we have nowadays. You can buy mounts. You can buy pets.
Yep.
You can
change race,
your appearance.
faction,
you can change your sex.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think knowing how much money they make on those microtransactions might tempt them to do something there.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
I think we need to be very vocal about that as a community.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the most important. The changes is right here, and I think that's like right here. The microtransaction thing is right below that because it can literally ruin the experience. And I think that like Alex said, 4.5 billion or something like that. I mean, it's a lot of money, and that's we have to make it clear to them that they're going to lose us as a player base if they do stuff like that. At least some of us.
Yeah.
I can't speak for everyone, but I think for the people who are hardcore no changes and hardcore vanilla purists, I think it's very important that we communicate that to them. And I like what you said about the screenshot, GP30. Like, I think that that's not. I don't think that is asking a lot. I don't think it's asking a lot to give us a screenshot. You know what I mean? Like something. Right. You know what I mean?
Something.
And but that's just my 2 cents. So
yeah. No, I really, and I think like you're saying, Melderon, like when it comes to Blizzard, and if they do give us something other than the Classic WoW we want, I think it really is important that as a community we let them know that this is not okay. We don't play it, and for a lot of people, it's going to be, hard. They waited all this time, this and that, but I think it's really important that we have to make ourselves completely clear on that because they have done us dirty multiple times before, and it's we're the consumers, we should have a say, that kind of thing. So, and this goes a little bit into what else I wanted to talk about. Do you plan on playing any future versions of Warcraft?
I would love to play at least the Burning Crusade. That's like my golden experience of WoW because I learned everything in vanilla, and then I got to apply that in Burning Crusade, try a new class and whatnot. So that's definitely something I'm looking forward to. And I'd even play Wrath. I mean, I liked Wrath, but that's when things started to really, towards the end, my time and things like that influenced it. But the game itself made some changes that I wasn't exactly thrilled about.
How about BFA or future like retail expansions?
I'm sorry, what?
Oh, just kidding. I was like, is my mic not working? Yeah.
No. It's working fine.
BF what?
I think, some of my recent memes speak for themselves.
Yeah,
but no, it's okay. I no interest, honestly.
Yeah.
Now, those are the kind of things I wish that they would actually advertise Classic WoW about, like that fight between, that's when I wanted to see it, not now. I mean, how do you do that after Kung Fu Panda? It's,
I don't know. And, we could talk a little about, like, a big reason for me, of course, the gameplay, and of course, there's a lot of things with, if you guys heard the first DefTalk, why I quit retail and why I quit Mythic rating. there's a lot of issues I have, but one of the biggest issues I have when it comes to BFA is actually, I feel like they're screwing up with the lore that I love, right?
Yes.
And I love Forsaken, and for them taking away the Undercity is like it's killing me. It's killing me. I can't do it, and it kind of diminishes my own, love of the older lore, and it kind of makes me, well, if it's still going on in this way, and it's interfering with it, so it kind of like just rips my heart out. But when it comes to lore, are you a fan of lore? Or some of your favorite things you are?
Oh, I love the lore. I got my hands on every book that they were printing back in the
nice.
War Wrath. Read all that. It was really enjoyable. Loved the backstories. Even I busted out my old Warcraft 1 manual that had some lore in it, and read that and looked at the maps and how they changed things. Of course, they had to make some changes for making a World of Warcraft. But one of the big things I noticed later on, like obviously Cataclysm was a big change. I felt that it was a lot like the Star Wars universe when Disney bought it, and they're like, "Oh, that old stuff, forget about it. It's all legends now. It's not canon." And so that's what I kind of felt like they did with my old lore. So I actually stopped paying attention to lore going into Mists. I just was like, "Fine, if you don't want it, this is my lore that I knew from Warcraft from 1994. You're trying to just rewrite it for just because it's simpler and easier." That's how I felt about it. I didn't like it, but I'm looking forward to re-experiencing that.
Yeah.
So, what's your favorite? It's hard to define this, but lore. If you're going to read about a subject, what's your favorite subject to read about?
Probably how the orcs first came to Azeroth.
Yeah,
that was probably my favorite.
Yeah.
I read I didn't have a PC that could play Warcraft 1 when it came out. But I had the game. I read the manual. A lot of us didn't have computers that could run the CD drive. So I read that manual front to back, listened to the music because you could pop the CD in your CD drive, and it had the soundtrack to the game. So I'd sit there and read it to the soundtrack. I know, kids, it sounds pretty archaic, but you would have to use your imagination and visualize these instances. That kind of stuff.
Yeah. I think that stuff's great too. The old Death Knights before Arthas' Death Knights.
Oh my God!
It's just
Taron Gorfine.
Ner'zhul, Gul'dan, all that stuff is just so good. It's just so good. The lore is so rich.
And, I was thinking of something in the lore, but I feel the same way about the future lore, and I kind of have my own little bubble that I kind of just stick to, and I don't allow any of that future bullshit to interfere with it. But things like every Death Knight had the soul of a orc, right?
An orc warlock,
An orc warlock, right? Yeah, I mean, there's so much rich lore in Warcraft.
And they were human bodies, though. They were human bodies.
That's right. They're human bodies with orc souls, right? Yeah. And I think some of the old lore was just so much cooler than the new lore. Like,
it is. It's more dark too.
Way more dark. It is much more. And that's something about Vanilla WoW. I feel it's darker. It has a darker feel.
Even though it has this kind of almost, I want to say, it's not as cartoony as retail, but it has this cartoony facade. But underneath, there's some dark lore, man. Some really dark lore. So it's, I miss that. I will say one thing, though. The Chronicle series, even though they're weaving in the new lore, they're pretty well written, and the artwork is fantastic.
Amazing.
Yeah, so I will recommend the Chronicle series. They are a little pricey. They're hardback, like $30 a piece. But
if you say it's all right, I will check them out.
I hope that's you.
I trust you.
And I'm not getting any money from Blizz. Trust me. So, but I do like it. Matt, we just got the Chronicles version, Volume 3. I haven't read it yet.
You sent it to the wrong friggin' house, though.
I did send it to the wrong house, but you got it now, so it's okay.
Thank you, brother. I got your in-game mail. Yeah.
Yes.
You COD'd me too, you cheap bastard.
So I actually have a question out of the loop. Sure. What was your funniest WoW memory?
Wow. No pun intended.
Yes.
Probably, I can't say it was my funniest, but probably my funnest.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
and it was mostly chat because the social aspect made it fun and funny.
My God, yeah.
Was just
heels on crit?
Yeah. I think my favorite guild name was I Crit My Pants.
Yeah, nice.
Like that. Those old guild names. Sorry. No, but was becoming a pirate, and I know that was kind of in Burning Crusade, but just grinding that rep.
Yep.
That was probably my favorite. Just a group of guild mates. There's like 6 of us, just grinding all day, making jokes, taunting, just being regular jerks in Booty Bay to anyone who came through. That was probably the most fun and probably the funniest, just ridiculousness of it.
That's awesome.
It's really cool. Yeah.
So you did say that Burning Crusade was probably also one of my favorite points in WoW. I think I love vanilla. Vanilla's its own thing to me. The Burning Crusade was when I became, like big into raiding. I got really big into PvP, like everything. I just played nonstop. I no-lifed it to the max. Was that your experience in BC as well?
At the end, yeah. When I actually made it a focus, I wasn't a super social person back then. In vanilla, especially, and I had super small groups, so just people you'd bump into, and create groups. But in vanilla or Burning Crusade, I definitely branched out, created a class that was wanted by guilds, and looked for them.
Yeah,
and definitely made it a goal and a priority.
Yeah. So someone who loves the Burning Crusade and also loves the lore, do you want to see a patch 1.13?
As long as it wasn't on every server, like if they wanted to, I think that might be pushing it. I'd almost rather see, as a historian too, I kind of dabble in history in my free time. That would be really cool to see what might have happened or what they were planning, instead of doing.
I love history too, so
kept the patch system going, kind of like some other MMOs.
Yeah,
but I'm kind of torn on that, honestly. I can't say I wouldn't be interested in 1.13. How's that for some Waffle House?
Okay.
I like that. I like that answer,
I feel the same pretty much. Yeah, I love history too, and looking at like what may have happened. Imagine like what if the Nazis won World War II or something like that.
Right.
Right. There's actually a really good Amazon Prime series about that, Man in the Dark Castle or something like that.
Man in the High Castle.
That's it. That's
yeah.
Literally, that's what it is. It's if the Nazis won World War II.
I think that's.
And BJ.
I just love that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yes. So it's. But that would be like a WoW 1.13, I guess, or WoW Classic 1.13.
Yeah.
What if the Burning Legion? I don't know. So. So sorry, I'm just.
I just think it takes away from some of the other expansions too. Like what people want to see Hygel, but Hygel was a raid in BC. People want to see what was the I can't remember the name of the place in Dunmorrow or whatever. But yeah, exactly. It's like things that in my mind, I know
it's okay.
Things that are in later expansions, they would feel weird because now they're in patch 1.13. So it's cool, but it's also kind of messes things up. But as someone, of course, that you love vanilla, but of course it wasn't perfect, and we all know that. What are some of the things that you personally, think maybe you didn't like, or like a lot of people don't like? What is it? When you kill an NPC?
Dishonorable kills.
Dishonorable kills.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So what are some of the things that bother you? Not much, huh?
Definitely the honor system changes, and I remember in PvP not grouping up specifically for dishonorable kills. So it kind of killed some of the social aspect having that for me, because I was like, well, I'm not going to have some like level 40, attacking this level 27 NPC with dishonorable kills in this raid, and then it hurts my PvP rank, right?
Yeah.
Well, I cared about that back then. It probably won't be as big of a deal for me in Classic. But I think it is also, I do think it's important to have in a way, though, because it was a part of the development of WoW. And kind of like you mentioned Melderon in past vlogs, restoring this, kind of bringing it back as it was. And so you can experience how much, it kind of sucked when somebody do something stupid.
Yep.
I think a lot of people are going to learn that other people's decisions impact them directly in groups.
Yes.
You won't be able to just pull it out when the tank dies.
Yep.
Everybody's going down.
Yeah.
You know, those kind of things. So it's kind of a tangent there, but
no, it's
dishonorable kills in Battlegrounds. It definitely affected that too. So having the honor system before Battlegrounds is something I'm interested as well, because that was a fun time. I think I was
World PvP, man.
Exactly, World PvP.
Yeah.
I remember getting a message back then like, "Hey, you're ranked number." I think it was in the top 10 on the server or something. Of just because it had just launched, nobody knew what they were doing. And it sounds cooler than it was. Trust me, that was like for a week.
Oh, come on, man, that's pretty badass. Yeah.
But it was just on that server, and nobody knew what they were doing. So I just go around like ganking casters when they'd run back to drink, right, as a rogue. Like, what else are you supposed to do? You don't go up to a warrior and start beating into his face.
No,
that's stupid.
Not as a rogue. No.
I knew that back then. But, that kind of stuff. And that's kind of your character, too, right? As a rogue, you don't hang out near the front lines. You were around the sides, the back, watching your own casters back, and those kind of things.
Attacking the healer once in a while,
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, I think mine, honestly, I think this is totally honest, is shift looting. I hate it. I hate shift looting.
Mm-hmm.
I hate having to hit shift, and I hate having to manually dismount. However, there's an add-on that auto dismounts you, so that's fine. But
really, shift looting it's not that big of a deal, dude.
I know. It just drives me a little insane. But I do it, and I will gladly do it for the whole time if I have to.
Right. So basically, all these things.
Yeah.
Right. All these things that we dislike, we still would, as much as we dislike them, we'd like to see it in Classic because, right, that's what you're saying, because we want to see no changes. Of course, there were things that weren't perfect about Classic, but some of those things that we don't like also adds the experience in a way. I don't like having so little graveyards around and taking so long to run back to my friggin' corpse. As someone who played retail a lot, and there's like a graveyard every friggin' 5 feet. And once in a while, and then you have a flying mount. You can when you're dead. Somehow you have a flying mount when you're dead. So of course there are things that you get used to, and if you play newer versions of the game and other things that you're like, oh wow, how did they even have this? And people are like, oh well, they need to put in dual spec for it to be relevant and this and that. But like, if you want all those changes, and if you don't see Classic WoW for what it was, then it's probably not the game for you, and that's okay. That's okay. I think a lot of people realize, well, like, no, Classic has to be great for everyone. Everyone has to love it. It's gotta appease these people. It's gotta,
and that's what happened to retail.
Exactly.
That's So
and guys, and if you're listening to this and you want a lot of those changes in Classic, first of all, I love you, but Classic is probably not the game for you.
Yeah.
And that's okay. It's okay.
It is.
But I mean, man, I love what you're doing with your channel. I think you give a unique perspective, being a vanilla WoW veteran who's played since the beginning, 1 week in, which is amazing. I think you give a unique perspective, and you also are very, and you just started making videos, and I think you're gonna shoot up, especially when we get closer to the launch of Classic and once Classic comes in, because you really give a unique perspective, and you also are very good at telling stories, which is something that is very important. And I think you are very friendly to not only the people who have played Classic and know the experiences that you're talking about, but you're also, I think, very interesting to the people who's never played it. And someone who's listening to it for the first time, I think you could really get those people's attention too. So what are your plans for your channel in the future?
I'm planning on, I've got an unboxing video coming up that's going to be a lot of fun. I definitely recommend checking that out.
Cool.
But I continue the vlogs, definitely. They're going to be screenshot heavy because I've got a ton of those going on.
Cool. That's awesome.
That's awesome, yeah.
I love to see those old screenshots, man.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
The old resolution and everything just adds to it. Do that, and then I'm hopefully going to be streaming once Classic actually comes out. Do a little bit of streaming.
Nice.
And hopefully get, some of my wife involved. She doesn't want to be on. I was going to have a little talk with her about her own experiences, but she's camera shy. Can't say I blame her. But no, it's all right. We'll work on it. All right.
Yeah.
We can always have you guys on again later on.
Yeah.
I would love to.
Might do that.
I'd love to.
But those things. I've got some other games I play. World of Tanks. Though my son likes to actually sit on my lap and play with me. He's like, nice. "Ooh, Dad, planes, go play planes." I'm like, "You bet, buddy. Anything you want." Not everything, mind you. Parenting is.
Oh yeah.
But when it comes to video games, I'm definitely interested in gonna bring them through the progression of games I played as a kid.
That's really awesome.
Lots of variety.
Cool. That's really cool, man. And I think I was telling him before you were on Defcamp that I think it's very important how we as a community help each other up the ladder, because
absolutely
when Classic launches, we want to all be there, and I think it's very good for the Classic people to be at the forefront, not because of money, because this is our passion, okay? And I think it's good for us to all give us our leg up on the ladder. And I was telling GP30, I wish someone did this for us when we were first starting out.
Yeah.
Because it can be a grind, guys. And if you want to make content, just do it. You know what I mean? It's going to be a slow grind. I'm sorry, it's just going to take a long time to get up there. But if you send us an email, I didn't put the email on the page, but it's melderon.gaming@gmail.com. If you want to be on DefTalk at some point, we have other people that are in the line, but we'll definitely put you on. But so GP30, man, just keep knocking out those videos, and then that's Absolutely. The best way to do it. And anybody else is watching that wants to create content, just keep making videos. Yeah. So
yeah, guys, it's really important, I think, for us to help each other out. And I like the idea of kind of making videos and making content that I love. You know what I mean? If I like it, that's really what matters. And if I enjoy it, that's really what matters. And if other people enjoy it, that's awesome too. And I think that's my goal, at least. And I know that's Melderon's goal. And to be able to say that I'm making content and that I'm doing something that I love that I can put on the car and watch later.
Yeah.
Dude, I made that. It's a really cool feeling, but it's a grind, and it can be hard in the beginning, especially hard in the beginning. But don't let that discourage you, because the personal gains that I've got from doing this, it's helped me come out of my shell a little bit. It's really helped me to just go out and do it, instead of just talking about something like, oh, I want it done. Just do it, and what happens. But most of the time, it's usually something that's it's an experience that helps you grow, and it's an experience that helps you kind of find out who you are as a person. So I think it's great if you want to do it, if you want to make content, if you want to stream, do it, because we need more people in the Classic WoW community.
Yeah, because it's going to be big. It's going to be big.
Yeah.
And I have one more question before we actually.
Sure.
This is kind of going into what we were just talking about. How has making content and playing WoW kind of taught you things about life, maybe life lessons from both making videos and from playing Warcraft?
Time management. That was definitely probably one of the biggest. I rolled a lot of alts in vanilla, so getting your leveling progression, like A, B, C, D, everything, just connect the dots, was super important. That's helped me at work, at home, getting projects done, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Setting little quests, mentally.
Yes.
Things to do. It seems ridiculous, but it's like, that's how I view it. It's like, well, these are the quests for the day. Not daily quests, but
yes, not daily quests.
Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Two totally different things.
Yes. So that kind of stuff, and I did learn to type a little bit more. I wouldn't say better necessarily, but quicker. And I worked on the other part of it, but not having voice chat back then, you had to type fast in Battlegrounds and anywhere in dungeons when you're doing polls. So
that's interesting. So I think that's a good way of looking at it. Is that I think we always focus. I mean, other parties outside of gaming always focus on the negatives of gaming.
Yeah.
Or content creation, but there's so many good things you can learn about life.
There really is. Yeah. There's so many amazing things that I've learned. Patience. I've learned how to actually say what I mean, and not, and a lot of times in WoW, you meet someone who can, change your perspective. I know, Dunedain, someone who you talk to them and you get a different perspective on something. And now, I was on the fence about the 1.1 and 1.12, and now you talk to somebody who just totally changes your mind. And, it really offers, I think, a lot, especially a game like WoW, an MMO, where you have so much socialization. It just really gives a lot of, good things in your life. So, but I really enjoyed having you on, man.
Yeah,
really,
thank you guys very much.
I love your stuff.
For coming on.
Enjoyed it.
I really like having people on. You're a new content creator, but you're also a big voice in the WoW community, in the classic WoW community, and I think that's huge. And we really want to get more people on here that are veterans of classic WoW and have something to say, because we hear a lot of the time the content creators who have been around for a while, we hear them a lot, but we don't hear the real heartbeat of the classic WoW community. And I think that's what we're doing here, bringing people like you on. So thank you for coming, man. You guys check out Gaming Past 30 on YouTube. It's literally the words Gaming Past and the letters 30.
No, the numbers 30.
The numbers 30. The numbers 30. The letters 30. But I mean, shut up, man. It's been a long day for me.
Definitely.
But yeah, I really had fun, and you're part of our community, which is awesome too, because our community is growing. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers, which is a personal goal for Melderon and I. Melderon started this channel like 2 years ago. A lot of people think it's a new channel, and we had that.
I was below 200 subs for like a year and 3/4 of that time. So yeah, sorry. Yeah, Matt.
No, it's really cool seeing the channel grow, and I'm really interested in seeing your channel grow, because I really think it's going to do good. You've got some amazing stuff on there, and so just keep it up, man. And hopefully we have you on some more. I would like to, maybe have you on discussions. We can bring you in some other stuff, but until next time, man. It was really nice talking to you, and you got a really unique perspective on a lot of things that I really didn't know. So
and so stay tuned for more Super Plate Brothers. Stay tuned for vanilla discussions. Stay tuned for a new DefTalk, probably coming out in maybe 1 or 2 weeks, with a new guest.
We'll have a special guest for you guys.
Special guest for that. But more importantly, stay tuned for some new GP30. So with that, I'd like to say Melderon signing off.
Defcamp signing off.
GP30 out.
All right, guys.
Keep on binding and grinding, baby.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.